That's a pretty interesting title, isn't it? It's a bit of a different one. Sounds a bit more vulnerable, doesn't it? That's a bit interesting. But no, hello. I'm a little bit sick, so don't mind my voice. I just got a random cold out of anywhere. But relationships kind of scare me, but not in the way I think you're thinking. I haven't been in a relationship in a while. It's been over a year, but I more and more find myself kind of being like at a point where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready to put myself back out there. I think I'm ready to go and take on the world again, get in the dating market. It's so weird people call it a market, but it kind of makes sense. You want to be attractive. You want to be someone who's got a good job, is physically attractive, can be emotionally available for someone. So, I mean, I guess in some sense there's value there. And in some ways, I suppose it is a market. But it's got me thinking lately, because I think I'm nearing a point where I probably want to start doing it again. But I have one major fear about dating. And it's why I titled the video as I did title it. And it's complacency. This is going to be more of an open discussion one, because I don't think many people will necessarily agree with my view on this. But to me, the thing that really scares me about getting into a relationship is complacency. Whether or not it's right or wrong, I think most people would agree with this, but if you're not in a relationship, I feel like you have a bit more drive. This is in general, I'm generalizing here, I don't think, not necessarily for everyone, but I think for the most part, if you're not in a relationship, you're kind of more driven, I feel like. You want to do better, you want to push harder, because you want to get to a point. I think it's natural that people want to be in relationships, they want to have someone to be there for them. So as a byproduct, if you're not in a relationship, for most people, you want to be pushing towards the best version of yourself so that you can attract a person who's, emotionally there for you, someone who can care for you right, someone who will respect you, will just like a good person, right? You want to become a better person so that you can also be with someone who is a good person, right? So if you are in a relationship, I can just so see myself. I just see it in myself a lot. I see that myself out of a relationship. I've been the most driven I ever have. And you know what people say, right, about like the first 3 months in a relationship, right? It's the honeymoon phase. They're like, oh my God, I love you. What should we name our kids? Oh my God, we should get married here. We should get these rings, Harold. These 3-carat rings, Harold. We can spend thousands and we're going to go to Hawaii on the honeymoon after the wedding. For 3 months, right? Everything's perfect. Everyone's like, you're happy. You're spending all your time together. You're watching shit together. You're going to their house every day. You go to their house every day. Blah, 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 blah. You're going out for dinner. You're doing all this. And the first 3 months, most people probably would say is like probably the most happiness because it's so novel. It's so new. There's someone you like, but you don't know a lot about them. So you're constantly wanting to find out more about them. I think that's a really beautiful thing. Do not get me wrong. I'm going to talk about the other side of this in a sec. So just hear me out on my side first, and then I'll play devil's advocate to myself. But that 3 months, for me, work will always be the number one thing in my life. This is the YouTube channel I have. My online presence will always be the number one thing I have in my life. And it'll always be the thing I want to try and push as far as I can. I always want to be pushing things. I always want to be try and, I guess, be a pioneer. I don't want to say I'm like a pioneer yet, but I really just want to push boundaries and try and make content people haven't before at a high level. That's what like really drives me, right? And I just really fear, the thing I fear is getting into a relationship, finding someone that I truly love, and then for a bit, having something else be number one. Having another person potentially be number one is a really scary prospect to me. And this might sound like otherworldly if you're hearing this. You might be like, what the fuck? Isn't love what you should always want? Having someone else that you can put at the top of your priorities, isn't that something you want? And I can totally see the angle on that. Maybe that is the case for you. If it is for you, more power to you. I don't expect everyone to agree with what I'm saying here. I'm just trying to give you my outlook. I fear that the level of output I could put out there, the level of mastery I could try and push towards, just improving the craft of video making, improving my writing, improving everything. I just feel so young at a stage where like, I don't really want to slow down. If anything, I want to kind of push harder and push for more and increase my output and try more things and put more out there. And I really feel like getting into a relationship with someone could potentially be a bottleneck to that. And again, I guess I'll bring up the devil's advocate side here. A relationship's a beautiful thing. You hear most people on their deathbeds, they're not saying like, oh, I wish I could have worked more and pursued and been more great at things and I got this, attained that, more achievements, more awards, more money. No, when people die, I think one of the most common things said, I don't have a theory for this, but I'm pretty sure most people are like, I wish I just spent more time with my loved ones. Simple as that. That'd be the other side of it. It's just like, well, of course, work's important to people, but the relationships around you are where most people derive the most life satisfaction, the most happiness, and the most fulfillment. And I 1000% believe that to be the case. I think relationships are the most valuable thing you can have in life. But that being said, I mentioned it a little bit before. As a 21-year-old, I'm very young. I just feel like I still don't even truly know what path I'm on. I have a kind of idea of what path I'm on. There's something I'm in the short term looking towards, video and trying to get really good at making videos. But I still feel like I can push so much harder. And my fear is that I would again end up in a relationship with someone fantastic, someone who I would love. It's not like it would be wasted time whatsoever. I'm not trying to say like some woman would come into my life and ruin everything and flip everything upside down. I'm not trying to say anything like that. It's more just the amount of time that I would want to put in a relationship, the amount of the availability I'd want to offer to someone, to me, I feel like I'm not in a position where I could be as available to someone as I should be. I don't think I'd necessarily be as caring about them as I should be, where I see myself at now. And I also recognize, like with what I was just saying, it all feels a bit contradictory, right? I opened this video saying, oh, I more and more see myself wanting to work towards a relationship. I see myself being in a position where it's something I want to pursue more. But then I reflect on it more and I'm like, well, where my goals are now, a relationship would actually probably be not good for myself or the other person because I want to achieve some things. I just don't think I'd be as emotionally available. I don't think I put enough time to it as I want. So I guess there's this kind of internal tension that I have where it's like, at some point I will need to be in a relationship because as I said, I think that's one of the most important things in life is your intimate relationships, your friendships, everything around your family. Relationships are what are always at the top of people's lists of priorities. It should be. But at the same time, I just see myself in this point now where I think it would push me into a place, into some complacency a little bit. Because as I said at the start, not being in a relationship, it does fuel you. If you're single, you're like going back to bed alone again for the 400th day in a row. Like that sometimes gets to you. That feeling of loneliness, that lack of intimacy. You're like, I'm a human being. It's one of our needs. Being in a relationship, having a sex life, having emotionals, like someone you can just deeply connect with. These are like all, you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Things like sex, intimacy, just like deep relationships with people. They're all core to being. They're like the greatest sources of fulfillment. But there's just that tension for me. I fear that I would, because I would want to give someone all that I can. I fear what that would interfere with in my work. I fear that could potentially hold me back. I fear that it could just get in the way sometimes. And I don't know. It's just these two things I feel like I'm weighing up right now. And this is a little bit more open and vulnerable, but I'd be interesting to hear what people have to say about this because I wonder if people are in a similar situation. I guess I take it day by day. If something, I'm not opposed if something pops up, right? Someone comes out of the blue. The woman of my dreams comes out of the blue, out of nowhere. It's not like I'm going to say no and not get to know them. But it's more like I still haven't actively put myself out there very much in the last year or so. But I feel like I'm getting to a point where I probably should because I don't know. It's what I'm saying. I have this constant tension right now. I'm not sure where I land on it. Something I'm reflecting about a lot lately. It feels like this hasn't been too self-help related. What I've been thinking about a lot lately hasn't been my goals and shit. It's been more like personal fulfillment, which I guess is tangentially related to self-help, but more just relationships. I've been like, am I at the point where this is something I want to do? Am I at the point where I actively want to put myself out there again rather than being more passive about it? And I don't know. I got to give it some more thought. Because I guess the other argument is like, it's not like I can't have both. It's not like I can't work extremely hard and be in a relationship. You look at every like ultra successful person and they manage both fine. But it's more just I feel like I'm young, there's just so much there's so much drive and ambition and fire in the kid. You don't want to dampen that, do you? So that's what I'm thinking about. Because maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe my fear of relationship is a cope. Maybe I'm like coping right now. Maybe I didn't have the self-awareness to realize that me saying like, oh, I just want to put work at number one is some like deep down coping mechanism. There's some like underlying fucky shit there in my psyche about relationships that I don't even know about. It could be that. But I'm self-aware enough to admit that maybe it is. So who knows? Maybe I should just suck it up and put myself out there, use my clout. By the way, I will formally use this as an advertisement. If you're an Australian e-girl, of course over the age of 18, ideally about my age actually would probably be ideal. Feel free to DM me. We can get some talks going. I'm kidding. But no, I just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Relationships. They're so core to being, but I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I'm not even sure if it's really what my number one priority should be, or if it's what I even want necessarily. So that's where I'm at. I've kind of had more of a relaxed week after my dopamine detox. I've been working hard. I've been working very hard on videos, but I feel like some of my other stuff like exercise and stuff and journaling, meditating, reading's fallen off a bit. So I should probably get back on track with that, shouldn't I? That's what I want to talk about. I'd be very interested to see what people's thoughts are about relationships, complacency, and how all that lines up. Especially from a younger perspective. I feel like when you're older, it makes more sense that you're probably more urgent. If you're like late 20s, early 30s, in a relationship, you're probably like, oh, probably should get this going, shouldn't I? I feel like having a family is something core. It's a very fulfilling thing. It's something I definitely want to do at some point in my life is start a family. But right now, it's definitely not. Right now, we're on the grind. We're on the hustle. We want to work hard, baby. We're in the big leagues here. That's where I'm at with things. That was a bit more of an open one. I'm interested to see what people have to say about it. That's all from me. I hope you're doing well. And farewell, Elite Level Gamer.